Hey, it's ERIC STUART, voice of Brock and James from Pokemon, and you're watching PokeCollection.
There it is.
You guys still having fun? Oh, look at that! That's so fancy now. This song is the other positive song I've written. The other happy song. It's about getting that sort of message of true love without having to dig around and search all over the world for it. Sometimes it hits you right in the face. The song is called Written in the Stars.
Welcome to New Zealand. Your New Zealand trip is coming to a close very soon. I think you head out very soon. How was it? How has it been for you? And any particular highlights so far?
It's been fantastic, and hopefully I'll head out tomorrow if the weather doesn't come in here and ground my plane. But it's been amazing. I think this is a friendly country, a beautiful country. It's almost surreal. I mean, driving through some of those hills and just looking at your topography. It doesn't seem real. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I've been following your page,
right,
and I have to make reference to what must have been interesting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Place you referred to as, and I quote, "smelling like ass cake."
Yes.
So that would be Rotorua.
Rotorua, yes.
Dare I ask how long you lasted over there?
Well, we were there for maybe 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
I loved the activities. We got to see kiwis, not just kiwis, but kiwi birds. We got to all the walking along the sulfur flats and things like that. And actually, I don't know if you saw, I posted a picture of me with my frying pan flats.
Don't think I've seen the picture.
Yes, that's a little Brock thing.
Okay.
But it was all the activities were fantastic, but the smell was a little overwhelming for me. First night I had a pretty bad headache. They finally moved my room up to a higher floor, which helped a little bit. I've got to say, but it's overwhelming. I know that it's good for the skin, and it's a really cool idea, like just to see all the stuff coming off the water, but it's a little overwhelming. I don't think I could live there, but the people were nice.
So, just so you guys know that I am connected to you on geek culture, I am a true gamer. And I'll give you a little bit of my gaming history. I do not play any of the games that I work on because they are not the kind of games I play. I play more like, Halo and Borderlands 2 and stuff like that, but let me just give you a little history quick of ERIC STUART's gaming collection. I've got my Atari 2600 still in the box with 52 games. I've got my NES with the controller with about 50 games of that. I've got Sega Genesis with a 32X attachment so I could play Doom when it came out. I've got my PS1s, but before they were called PS1s. I've got 2 of those with a link cable because I used to play picture-in-picture, TV to TV in my house multiplayer Doom before there was online gaming for those consoles. I've got the Xbox, I've got the 360, I've got the PS2, and I play every Wednesday night online with my 360 with the same 3 guys for the last 8 years.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Of course, we've got to talk about Pokemon. We've gone up with your voice in particular.
Yes.
Now, what we'd like to know, a lot of our viewers would like to know a little bit about your first edition and what your first reading was like.
Well, Pokemon wasn't my first anime that I had ever worked on. So this, when the audition came up, I just thought it was another one of these either straight to video or maybe it would be a 1 or 2 episode project.
Okay.
And when I auditioned for it, I actually didn't get any roles on the show.
Oh, okay.
I was the second choice for Brock, and I was not even picked for James.
Right.
And they started recording the first actor for Brock and decided they didn't like him. So that version never aired. Then they called me and said, "We'd like you to play Brock." And I was like, "Okay, great."
Okay.
So I came in for that. And then after about, I think it's the first 8 episodes, a friend of mine was the voice of James. And he's a stage actor. So he decided he wanted to take a play and go on the road. So they asked me to come in and impersonate him in the beginning.
Okay.
Now, what's very funny about these shows, when we get, when a production company gets like a whole series, we don't normally get to watch ahead. It's almost like piecemeal. Okay. So the director at that time thought that Team Rocket was very serious.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he wanted me to maintain the voice that he had set up with the other actor, but it was all very straight ahead.
Okay.
And at one point I said, I think these guys are supposed to be funny. And he said, no. They want them very straightforward. They're not in. They're serious bad guys. And then the next episode I was in drag. And so I said, okay. So then the funny laugh came in and all of that stuff. So I sort of took James into the craziness that you know.
Yeah.
But if you watch the very first couple of episodes, that's not me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you just sort of developed that.
Yes.
Oh, right. Excellent. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you first hear about Pokemon then? Was it just one of the things that agents brought you to, or?
Actually, some of the people that I worked for on some of the other anime had called me and asked me to do a promo, which is basically just like coming up next kind of thing.
Okay.
For a new cartoon.
Okay.
Didn't tell me anything about it, so I went into the session to record, and the line was coming soon, Pokemon. That's all it was.
Okay.
There were about 15 people in the room, and no one could agree on even how to pronounce Pokemon. You had Pokemon, Pokemon, whatever. So I did 30 or 40 takes of just that sentence. Not knowing, not even seeing pictures of the show. It was just a teaser for this whole thing. And then I think the show went into production about 6 months later. So I had heard about it, but I had no idea what I was talking about. I also didn't know which version they went with in terms of how to pronounce it. And that actually, some of the early episodes, the directors weren't even like on the same page. Some of the actors are saying it one way, some say it the other way, and we finally sort of came up with like, this is how it's said. But that was my first introduction, was doing the promo, not even as a character, but just as an announcer.
It all falls on me.
So you've also voiced Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! I grew up with that too.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, you played them at the same time, is that right?
Yeah, I actually was, when we were working on Pokemon, I also directed myself a lot on the Pokemon, and some of the other actors. I was one of the actors that directed themselves.
Okay.
And then I also directed Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay. Oh, right. So I was going to ask you that as well, because I was wondering if, like, how you got the voices of the characters, and was there a particular direction you were given? But I guess
yes,
you yourself.
No. Actually, the story behind getting Kaiba is actually kind of interesting. So, 4 kids called me and asked me if I wanted to be on staff to direct a new show, because I'd been directing myself and also the other actors, so they knew I had a background in ADR directing.
Okay.
And so they said, we have a new show coming up, and we need an on-staff director. So I went in, and I looked at this show, and they had already done some casting.
Okay.
The only character they hadn't found was Kaiba. Now, if you know the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Kaiba's got this big moment, of course, when he rips Grandpa's card, Blue Eyes White Dragon. So that was a major role in the first episode. They hadn't cast him yet. So I'm hired as a director. I'm working on other shows as an actor. I can't really suggest myself for it. That would be kind of, double dipping, as we like to say. So my producer said, this is what I'm looking for this kind of voice. And I must have auditioned, I don't know, 20 to 40 of the guys that we'd worked with, and people they didn't even know, to find this character. Now, when you're doing like a network television show, some of the other anime things go straight to video. We had a deadline. We were already doing teasers for Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming up in whatever date it was, launching and then whatever, and we had not finished recording our first episode. So there's, right, exactly, 11th hour. So finally, I said to my producer, who really didn't know me as a voice actor, he had been hired to produce the show, I'd been hired to direct, he didn't realize I was acting on everything else. I said, I should play this role. And he said, well, why do you think that is? Because I know exactly what you want. And I said, and we're getting down to the 11th hour, so why don't we do this? Let me dub the show. I'll dub half of it. If you hate it, I'll keep trying to cast this role. But if you like it, then we know we found Kaiba and we can keep working. He said, all right, fine. So I dubbed the first half of the show, and he was like, exactly. That's exactly what I've been looking for. And for me, Kaiba is so easy to play because of the sarcasm and stuff like that. Finding the voice wasn't that hard. I mean, being, in my cooler, lower register, that's just, that just made sense. I sort of in the 11th hour became Kaiba. And then as the producer left the room, once it was approved, the engineer turned to me and goes, dude, we could have saved weeks and weeks of time if you had just said that in the beginning. I'm like, Yeah, but I couldn't say it then. It would be like a little bit too greedy if I was like, hey, I know I'm the director of the show, but I should also be this guy, right?
So did you get confused with the characters that you're playing at the same time? So Brock, James, I think you did Butch and Torkoal as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I was playing a lot of characters. I was Meta Knight on Kirby. I was, so Brock and James and Butch and Squirtle and all of those characters on Pokemon, and then Kaiba, and then Bastion on GX, and we doing multiple shows all the time.
Right.
No, I tried to find the placement of voices, so it was very clear what I was doing. Some of the things I had done in the past might be similar to some of the bigger network shows I did, because I don't do a million different voices. Maybe I do 10 different styles of voices and then color those with accents or slightly different registers, but but I could, at least I know which one they are. Okay. I was never confused. I rarely had to talk at the same time, because we dubbed one voice at a time, so it would be like all the Brock lines, then all the James lines, that sort of thing. Okay. Only when I've done like some morning radio interviews, like phoners as we call them, where they've had ERIC STUART with Brock and James, have I had to switch voices and talk as all three of us.
Oh, okay.
So I can do it, but I never had to do that when we were recording the show.
And do you have a favorite line?
James's favorite line is from the movie with the unknown, with the floating sort of alphabet letters. And he walks in and says, I haven't seen this many strange letters since I placed that personal ad. And I just thought that was a brilliant line that kids would laugh because it's something James said, but the adults would laugh going like, oh, he's on Match.com, he's on a dating site. That was funny. And of course the Brock line that everybody asks for, which has become Shakespeare, as I've said, is I'll just use my trusty frying pan as a drying pan, from I think that's the second movie or whatever, when it's raining. So those are probably my two favorite. Kaiba doesn't have a favorite line. I mean, I think it's just his whole attitude in general.
And the other cool thing about being a voice actor is that you can work remotely. I mean, I live in Nashville right now, and I've got a little studio, and I work from there. We could work on a show together. She could record her lines out there in LA. I could do mine in I mean, we could do that kind of stuff because we don't have to appear anywhere.
When we work on Sonic, Dr. Eggman is in New York, and the rest of us are in LA, so we hear him over the Skype.
Mike Pollock? Yeah.
So what you're kind of saying is that you could direct something from Nashville. Colleen could record from LA, and I could record from Wellington. Do we have another question?
Yes, good question. Good question.
Okay. Now there's one thing I've always wondered, and this is when, obviously, at the end of season 8, for those, I'm pretty sure everybody knows by now, it was 2006, everything changed. I'm not sure what happened with that. Could you detail or give us a bit of a insight into what happened at that point?
I can do that. I'll try to do the Reader's Digest condensed version so that it's not a 2-hour interview. Basically, just so that you understand, and I'm sure you do, once a show is successful, we sell the licensing to other products like card games, video games, things like that. So your Pokemons, your Yu-Gi-Ohs, your 20-minute show is really a 20-minute commercial. Right? So once we get you hooked, then that product is successful, and you can basically record people just going, and you still buy the Pokemon video game. Right? The show got you. Right? That's the purpose of it. So slowly over time, they decided that they wanted to save money, the company behind the show, and went to a cheaper production company, and then decided to recast everyone as well so that they could save money. Not that we made a lot of money, but it was more like the whole package. So then that studio got it taken away by someone who undercut them. So I hear from a lot of fans that in terms of the quality, the writing, the jokes, whatever it may be, I don't take it personally. Like that's I helped create those roles for 10 years of my life. I'm in 8 movies. You grew up watching me. I know what it was. But what's unfortunate is I think that is a sign of the greed factor. That is a sign of, the fans rebelled against that. They didn't like it, but they really felt that you wouldn't care. That over time that you would just go, all right, fine, I'm still going to watch. And I'll ask a panel at a convention, I'll ask the audience, how many of you guys, when's the last time you watched the show? No hands go up. So when's the last time who played the game? Who's still playing the game? All their hands go up. So yeah, that's the point. It doesn't even matter anymore what the show is doing. So it's unfortunate because
shame,
I take a lot of pride in that, and the writers were very good. They were the production company, the people behind the scenes were very, very funny people, and they gave us funny words to say. You know, and I just, you know, as a fan myself of certain things like Batman, whatever. When I see them go the sort of like, you know, we're just going to go the Hollywood route or whatever and get away from, we don't care what the fans think. I'm disappointed by that.
Yeah, it is a shame, and we've noticed the shift. Obviously, growing up as well, things have changed. But I have noticed a shift. I do make it a job to keep on top of it, obviously, because it's what I do. But there is a shift. It seems to, for me anyway, personally, I'm not sure about anybody else, has lost that sort of appeal. But I'm sure for the younger kids who are growing up now, it's giving them a reboot. And
and they're re-airing the originals. I know they are doing that.
Yeah, which is great. Which is great. Must be a great feeling, right?
Yeah, I just think that, like, because of Pokemon, anime has reached more audiences than ever. So it gives us an opportunity to do conventions like this as well. You can ask a grandparent what Pokemon is and they will know. You can ask a small child what Pokemon is and they will know. And because of that, other shows have opportunities now, and conventions have more opportunities to, you know, come to a city near you, that sort of thing. So I do feel very, I'm very proud of being part of that pop culture introduction.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you here as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So speaking of anime, we've started a new segment called Anime Collection on our channel. So we just want to know what sort of anime. Do you have a favorite anime?
I do.
You do?
I do. When I was in, I guess, 5th grade, on television, we had, after school, Battle of the Planets, the original Gatchaman, G-Force.
Right.
All right? That's Transmute, right? When they turn into the birds, right? Okay. Favorite anime of all time, and one of the reasons that I use the voice that I do for Brock is because Casey Kasem played Mark from G-Force. And when we were little kids, I could do Casey Kasem. And basically, Mark from G-Force is Brock from Pokemon, just a little lower. So when I got an opportunity to come up with a cartoon voice for a show, I just went to one of my heroes and basically, you know, borrowed my Casey Kasem style voice. But yeah, I love Battle of the Planets.
Oh, great!
That's And if any one of your fans don't know that, because that's old school, they should go back and watch it. It's really good stuff. I think the original Japanese called Gatchaman, and then we called it Battle of the Planets.
I've grown tired of hearing your lies. Here's a twist now, here comes my goodbye. I'm gonna walk out before you do. It's coming down like the setting sun. I've had my fill, you've had your fun. Shooting your mouth off like the barrel of a gun, and the worst, feel the worst is yet to come. The worst is yet to come. Yeah!
Okay, so what's everybody drawn your music as well? Obviously, you've been working in music. I've always been drawn to Nashville. I've never been there myself, but it's rooted in rich music over history. Now, you're obviously Brooklyn born. What drew you to Nashville when creating that music?
I had the opportunity to tour with Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band. And the way that tour works is Ringo brings out great guest star, all-star players, and everybody gets to play their own songs throughout the night. It's like listening to classic rock radio, and you know, one song by this person, one song by that person. And one of the people on that tour was Peter Frampton. And Peter and I became friendly on the tour, and afterwards he offered to produce my record, but the trade-off was I had to come down to Nashville, and I'd never really been there. I'd only played through there once. And he so I went down there for a couple of weeks, worked down there, fell in love with it, and said at some point I'm going to move down here. And then finally made the move to just play. And I've been playing music longer than I've been doing voice acting. So and for those who, you know, Nashville is Music City. It's definitely the center of country music, but it's also just the center of creative songwriting. So you know, people, songwriters go there, and I don't write country. I mean, I write country, I don't play it. I'm much more of sort of like a folk rock guy.
It's a funky
yeah. And so I fit in because I consider myself at least a smart lyricist, and there's melody there. But I'm not cookie cutter country. But it's such a creative environment.
There ain't no way I should risk it, but every time you come around, I play the game I've resisted. Lipstick, the barbed wire, my beating heart is black and blue. Lipstick, the barbed wire.
So we just got a couple of fire questions from fans who submitted. The first one will be, this one's a question from Jake. Do you think Brock is ever coming back?
I don't know, because see, I didn't know when he left.
Okay, right. Yeah,
because that was after. Yeah, I do know that when he left to go to the Professor Ivy's island, he came back. So if he can survive that, who knows?
Okay.
That I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jake.
No worries. And Hamish, Hamish, he asks, would you ever consider doing James again if you were given the opportunity?
I think I probably would. I don't think they would ever ask me to do it. I mean, I still have a statue of Brock and James on my console in my studio, and I feel very connected to those guys. So I you know, if they asked, I probably would do it, but I don't think they would ask.
Okay, fair enough. And last thing comes from our little mascot here, Spinder.
Yeah.
He wants to know if it can get a hug.
Sure, that's great. Oh, Spinder.
Excellent. That's what it came here for. I've been waiting. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Eric, for your time. I know you're running. I appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime.
Busy person, but thank you for coming down to New Zealand. Thanks for taking your time to meet with us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your stay. And
gotta catch them all.
Yeah, gotta catch them all.
All right. Thank you. All right, take care.
Yep.
So, you've told them you want to be a voice actor, right? You're out in the front, you're like cleaning up, making coffee, bringing them scripts, things like that. And a script comes in for a beer ad that they have to get out the door in an hour.
Yeah.
They say, oh, they want this a young, cool beer type sound. Hey, doesn't Dione do voiceovers? He wants to get into voice acting. Let's give him a chance to read this. Let's see what he can do. Hey, come in here, man. And you come in.
Yeah. And
you read it. And they're like, oh, that's pretty good. Great. You're going to do it. So then you're the go-to guy that's in-house. And the reason is, as a production guy, I can tell you, I don't have the time to do a casting session, do an audition, you know, send it to a client when it comes in like that. Radio stations, it's like same day.
Yeah.
All right? Usually the DJ will read it if they pay more, right? Or the staff guy that's the engineer that's editing the stuff together might read stuff in-house. But if you're there, you might become the guy that they go to, and all of a sudden you're starting to do stuff. So that's one place that all of a sudden you're doing things, right? And the other thing is advertising agencies. They use voiceovers for radio and TV commercials, right? They sometimes keep on file demo reels, right? So if you find out 4 or 5 agencies,
send them something.
Write them an email at first. It's right to their casting department. Find out, you know, call and say, who do you have in-house casting? Is there someone I can send my demo reel to? I'm a voice actor. Sure, this is the email, this is our contact. Then write a nice little cover letter with a link to your demo reel. Like, you know, put it up on the cloud or something like that. Put a link to your demo reel so that they can listen to it and not have to download something, right? Right?
Yeah.
Then they keep you on file, right? Now you don't have a demo reel though, right?
Not yet.
Right, because you've got to make a demo reel with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if you go to a coach that does demo reels, ask them for examples of the things that they've produced.
Okay.
So you can listen to it. It needs to sound like they're real commercials.
Okay.
If it doesn't sound like it's cut together from real commercials, don't spend any of your money to do it, to put together the reel.
Okay.
Because your demo reel is against guys like me that have real spots cut together.
Yeah.
You need to make it seem like you have real spots.
Okay.
it's do you know the expression catch-22?
Yep.
Okay. So you can't be a voice actor without a demo reel, and you can't have a demo reel if you haven't been a voice actor.
Yeah. Okay.
So your demo reel needs to sound like you've been a voice actor.
Yeah.
If someone asks you, are these real spots, you can say no. But they won't ask you that if they sound like they're real spots. Don't write your own commercial copy. No. Don't go find your own music and put them behind what you're reading. Go to a studio that knows what they're doing, that pulls real scripts.
Yeah.
But not a famous campaign like you're the Geico Lizard.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
Gotta be something smaller.
Smaller, regional, things like that, you know. A Burger King thing that's regional, an offer that's going on, or Macca's, as you like to call it, McDonald's. But you know, something like, you don't have Burger King here. I don't even think they have that here.
We do.
Do you? Okay, good. But you know what I mean? Like, you got to find stuff that would be real, but not. He didn't do that for real. I know that spot.
Yeah.
And that's what you would send out. And a demo reel, professional commercial demo reel, is like a minute 10.
Minute 10.
It's not even longer. It's not, yeah. If you're doing long form stuff like audiobooks, then you would have long chunks of things cut together, because those people want to hear you maintain something for a long, long time, right?
With that.
Commercials want, that's great. Okay, he does that. That's great. He does that. Okay, and they're short little snippets.
Okay.
And the last thing I'm going to say before we wrap up is, if you can remember, there's a website called voicebank.net.
Yep.
All right.
I remember that.
It's got demo reel examples of so many actors, myself included. Listen to examples of commercial voice actors, industrial voice actors like narrators, and listen to that. That's what whoever you go to, his stuff or her stuff should sound like. If it doesn't sound like those kinds of demo reels, it's not going to work.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Good luck.
Awesome.
Man.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anytime. You got it.
Thank you.